So A Quiet Place Day 1 is an apocalyptic horror prequel spin-off movie that I think is super underrated. I mean, I'm so surprised that it's currently not nominated or winning loads more awards. And it's super emotional and I think pretty artistic and really interesting in terms of putting a terminally ill cancer patient as the main lead character, and Lupita Nyong'o, my goodness, totally owned this role and just played Sam with such grace and such rawness, and you're really rooting for her. And of course, she is very well versed with the horror genre, as she absolutely nailed her role similarly in Us. And in terms of the premise of this movie, I would put it at the same level in terms of emotional level as Pixar, as it really does pull your heartstrings. And as a character, Sam is not only really clever and really witty, but is actually pretty strong and can hold her own against these aliens despite being under so much pain. And you can see why Joseph Quinn's Eric character is so impressed and is so in awe with her and is pretty much following her around like a long lost puppy. And I just love the contrast between these two characters, as you can very quickly see that Eric has been raised with such privilege and without any challenges, so very quickly breaks down at the situation that obviously all these characters are in. And even though they come from very different backgrounds, I love the fact that they are both able to help each other. So of course Sam is able to help him survive in this apocalyptic situation, and Eric is able to make her last few days really nice. For example, getting her the medication from the pharmacist and also taking her to a jazz club and making her dreams come true in terms of having a pizza from Patsy and also doing some magic tricks to make her feel better. And the final couple of moments in this movie are just so sad but so brilliantly done. For example, you have Joseph Quinn's Eric character running for his life to try to get to the boat as the people have realized that the aliens can't swim. And while he's doing that, Sam is distracting all of the aliens, and I absolutely loved it how she decided to end everything on her terms, so it was just blaring out the music. And I thought it was absolutely brilliantly done when Eric finds the note of Sam saying thank you for making her last few days something to live for, and also asking him to take care of Frodo. Honestly, super emotional. And even though this movie is relatively short, I thought all of the sequences that they had in this film were really clever. Of course, like we just talked about, all of the sequences with Joseph Quinn and Lupita Nyong'o's characters, just the two of them, they were able to capture the audience's attention so well when it was pretty much just them against the aliens. But also, there are a number of other characters here as well. So I love the fact that Djimon Hounsou, obviously we see him in A Quiet Place Part 2, and we get to kind of see his origin storyline here as well, which I thought was really cool. And of course, we are based in New York City, a city that is so loud. I feel like they could have played with that a little bit more, and I don't feel like they used the ambient sounds of water as good as they did do in the first film. But there were some shocking sequences. For example, the guy who mentally just couldn't keep his mouth shut because the situation was clearly far too much for him. And also when they are navigating themselves through the flooded underground subway station, I feel like there would have been a lot more electricity deaths happening over there. But nonetheless, they have to try to be really stealthy, and of course there's some aliens around. And then speaking of sneaking around, when both characters are trying to get to Sam's apartment, even though she is trying to run away from Eric for a number of scenes, but he is always finding his way behind her. And then right in the beginning, when you are seeing the aliens first coming onto Earth, and also that explosion right in the beginning as well. Honestly, this film was pretty wicked in terms of having action sequences spread across its runtime. And then if they are going to do a third movie, hopefully Djimon Hounsou's character will be returning there. And now that we know that Eric is a survivor, I hope that we'll see him and Frodo in the future. So I genuinely thought that A Quiet Place Day 1 was a really solid new entry in this brilliant franchise. And just like the first two movies, I feel like when you're watching it in the cinema, everybody is super quiet and they are just so fixated on everything that is taking place. So I feel like from a cinematic viewing experience, it's really strong. And I feel like they did some really interesting things with its premise, whilst also just packing in so much emotion, as this movie was actually really sad, especially right at the end. And like I said right at the start, I'm surprised that it's not getting more attention in the awards circuit, but I absolutely loved it. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give A Quiet Place Day 1 a solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear from you. What did you think of this film? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.